It started on a Wednesday. One of those unremarkable days when the sun is out but not warm, and the mail arrives slightly later than usual. I had just finished cleaning the kitchen, wiping down the last of the coffee rings from the marble counter, when the doorbell rang. It wasn't frantic. It wasn't hesitant. Just a clear, deliberate chime, like whoever was on the other side already knew they belonged here. I opened the door and saw her. She couldn't have been older than 20. Thin frame, tightly braided dark hair, a faded backpack slung over one shoulder, and eyes that looked far too steady for someone so young. She didn't smile. She didn't speak right away. She just held up a manila envelope and said, "I think I'm your sister-in-law." I blinked. "I'm sorry?" She nodded, not repeating herself but confirming what she'd said. "Your husband is Marcus, right? Marcus Ellington?" I didn't speak. She unzipped the backpack and pulled out a single sheet of paper inside a protective sleeve. "This is my birth certificate. I thought you'd want to see it before you slammed the door." I didn't slam it. I took the paper from her, cautiously. Like it might bite. There it was. Plain black ink. Standard government issue. Child's name, Ava Mae Ellington. Father, Marcus Joseph Ellington. Mother, Serena Danielle Ellington. My breath caught. That second name, my name, was typed cleanly in the box marked Mother. But I had never given birth. I hadn't even been in a delivery room. And I'd certainly never seen this girl in my life. I looked up at her. "This is some kind of mistake." She shrugged. "Maybe. Or maybe someone didn't tell you something." Behind me, I heard Marcus's footsteps coming down the stairs. "Who is it?" he asked casually, still half distracted with whatever was on his phone. I didn't answer. I just held the paper up so he could see it from the doorway. He stopped mid-step. His face went still, the kind of stillness that isn't peace, it's shock trying to hide itself. The girl looked at him. "Hey, Marcus. You told my mom you didn't want to be found. But I figured you might have changed your mind." His phone slipped from his hand and hit the step. I looked between them. "Marcus. What the hell is going on?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. I stepped aside and let the girl in, even though my instincts screamed not to. I wanted the truth, and I wasn't going to get it from him, not yet. We sat in the living room. She stayed standing. "Look," she said, "I didn't come here to cause problems. I found this document in the state archives after I turned 18. I'd been adopted when I was 4. Nobody ever told me who my real parents were. Then I found this." She pointed at the birth certificate. I tracked the names. I found Marcus. And when I saw the pictures of your wedding online, I saw you. And the name matched. Marcus finally spoke. "Ava, this isn't what you think." She turned to him. "Then tell me what it is." I sat there, paper still in my hand, feeling like the walls of our home, this calm, quiet home we'd built together, were beginning to flex, like something hidden inside was pressing to the surface, ready to split everything open. And for the first time in our marriage, I didn't recognize the man sitting across from me. Not even a little. He said it was a mistake. That someone must have forged the documents, or maybe the system had glitched, or maybe, somehow, there was another Marcus and Serena Ellington out there who had a daughter named Ava. He said it all so quickly, too quickly, like he was trying to plug holes in a dam that had already burst. His voice was too high, too defensive, and when I looked into his eyes, they didn't ask me to believe him, they begged me not to look deeper. But it was already too late for that. Ava sat calmly on the edge of the couch, her backpack now resting at her feet. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't make demands. She just watched him squirm, like she'd seen it all before. She had come prepared, not just with the document, but with calm resolve, and that unsettled me more than anything else. You said you didn't have any siblings, I said, turning to Marcus. My voice wasn't angry, not yet, it was searching. You told me you were an only child. No brothers. No sisters. Just your parents, who are both gone. That was always part of your story. That's what you told me when we got engaged. That's what you told me when we did the family section of the wedding invitations. Why would you lie about something like that? His lips parted, but nothing came out. Ava filled the silence for him. He told my adoptive mom that he was just a donor. That it was anonymous. That he didn't want contact. But he lied about that, too. He signed the birth certificate. He gave his full name. And hers. She looked at me now. Yours. My heart was racing. I never signed anything. I know, she said. That's why I came. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and poured a glass of water with trembling hands. I didn't drink it. I just stared into it like it might give me answers. Marcus followed me in. Serena, I can explain. Then explain. He glanced toward the living room, lowered his voice. It was years ago. Before we were serious. I was dating someone casually. It didn't last. She got pregnant. I panicked. I didn't want anything to do with it. And I thought I could make it go away. I turned to face him. You put my name on a birth certificate. It was just paperwork, he said, as if that made it better. I used your name because I thought it wouldn't matter. We weren't even living together back then. It was just easier. I didn't think she'd ever come looking. Easier, I repeated. The word felt like poison. I was scared. I didn't think I'd ever see that kid again. I didn't even know if she was mine for sure. But when the mother agreed to adoption, I signed whatever the agency gave me and walked away. I stared at him, unable to find the version of the man I thought I married anywhere in that face. I need you to leave, I said. His eyes widened. What? I need you to get out of this house. Tonight. I don't care where you go, but you can't stay here. Not right now. Not after this. He looked like he might protest, but then he saw something in my face that stopped him. He left without another word. And I returned to the living room where Ava sat quietly, not smug, not triumphant, just exhausted. I sat across from her. I don't know what this means yet, I told her. But you're not crazy. You were right to come. She nodded, and for the first time, her voice wavered. I just wanted to know who I was. So did I. And suddenly, neither of us was sure we knew anymore. Ava and I sat in silence for several minutes, the kind of silence that feels both full and empty at once. I studied her face, not to find resemblance, there was none, but to find truth. And it was there. Not in her features, but in her eyes. She wasn't here for drama or money or revenge. She was here because something sacred had been taken from her: identity, belonging, a name she never got to grow up with, and she wanted it back. Do you know who your mother is? I asked. She nodded. Her name was Maya. I was born in Tulsa. She gave me up when I was 4. She had me young, barely 19, and she didn't have support. She said a man named Marcus helped her with the process, that he signed the papers, said he'd vanish if she wanted him to. She never mentioned your name. But when I turned 18 and filed to see my sealed records, there it was. Your name, too. I thought it was a mistake at first. I thought maybe she'd changed her name later and married you. But when I looked up photos online, your face was the same one on the certificate. I nodded slowly, my mind still lagging behind the facts. You knew he was lying the moment you saw him. She nodded. He had that look people get when a ghost walks in. I ran my fingers along the edge of the birth certificate again, even though I'd already memorized it. I had never signed this. I had never met this girl's mother. And yet, my name was there, etched in legal ink beside his, like some kind of cosmic joke. The name I had taken after marriage, sitting on a document years before we'd ever exchanged vows. I don't understand how this is even possible, I said. Legally. That they'd just put my name there. She hesitated before answering. My adoptive mom was a lawyer. She said it wouldn't be hard if someone knew what they were doing. Agencies were underfunded. If he filled out the original paperwork and listed you as a co-parent, maybe hoping it would grant the baby legitimacy, or make the mother more willing to sign the adoption papers, then the name would have stuck in the records. Especially if no one contested it. But it's a lie, I said. She looked at me with a pain I didn't expect. But it's still mine. And there it was. The name didn't belong to me, not really. It belonged to her. It had sat on every form, every file, every appointment she'd been through for nearly 2 decades. My name had followed her even when I wasn't there. It had shaped her understanding of where she came from. And now, that truth was unraveling for both of us. The doorbell rang again. I looked at her. I'm not expecting anyone, I said. I opened the door. It was a courier. He handed me a padded envelope and walked away. Inside was a DNA kit. No note. Just the kit. I turned it over in my hands. Ava stood behind me. I already did mine, she said. It's in the system. All it needs is yours and his. I didn't ask how she'd arranged it. I just nodded. Because I didn't need a paternity test to tell me something was broken. I needed it to tell me how deep the fracture ran. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the paperwork we sign in life. Marriage licenses. Mortgage agreements. Insurance forms. All the promises we make in black and white, thinking ink makes them real. But the biggest lies Marcus ever told me? He never needed to say out loud. He just wrote my name where it never belonged. He didn't come home that night. I didn't expect him to. And for once, I didn't wait by the window or pace the hallway like I used to when he worked late. I just sat at the kitchen table with Ava across from me, 2 cups of untouched tea between us, as the silence drew a line between what I thought my life was and what it had actually been. When he did show up, around 7 the next morning, he looked like a man who had barely slept, and not just for one night. He looked worn. Unshaven. Hollow. And for the first time since I'd met him, I saw something I couldn't unsee: shame. He didn't say hello. He just stepped inside, closed the door, and sat down without being asked. Ava watched him, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. She didn't speak first. Neither did I. It was his mess. He could be the one to sweep it out. I never meant for any of this to come out, he finally said. I laughed. A short, sharp, humorless sound. That much is obvious. He nodded like he deserved the slap in the face that wasn't physical. I met Maya when I was 22, he continued. We were both working crap jobs. She was smart, beautiful, lost. We had this connection, but it wasn't love. Not really. Just 2 people trying to matter to each other. And then she got pregnant. He paused, glanced at Ava, then looked down. I panicked. I didn't want a kid. I wasn't ready. I barely had a bank account. I told her I'd help her figure it out, but the truth is, I just wanted it to go away. She said you told her you'd support adoption, I said. He nodded. She wanted to raise the baby, but she didn't have support from her parents. So when I suggested adoption, she gave in. But there was a catch. The agency needed both parents' signatures. And I'd told her I was in a serious relationship. I wasn't. Not really. But I told her your name. Maybe to make her think I was unavailable. Maybe because it made me feel like I had something worth protecting. I stared at him. So you used my name, knowing it wasn't real, just to push the paperwork through? It was just ink, he whispered. No, Ava said suddenly, her voice slicing through the room. It was my identity. He looked at her, but didn't argue. There was nothing to say. I thought I'd buried it, he went on. I told myself it was done. She signed the papers. I signed mine. And I walked away. I thought I'd never hear about it again. But you left my name on it, I said. Why? I didn't think it mattered. At the time, it didn't seem like anything that would ever touch us again. But you didn't erase it, I pressed. You didn't ask the agency to correct it. You didn't even tell me when we got married. Because I was ashamed, he said, finally meeting my eyes. I thought if I kept it buried long enough, it would stay gone. People don't stay gone just because you close your eyes, Ava said quietly. He nodded. I know that now. I looked between them, him with his regret, her with her pain, and realized something painfully clear. I was married to a man who would rather forge a family than face one. A man who believed silence was safer than truth. And sitting in that living room, with the birth certificate still on the table and the DNA kit waiting in the hallway, I realized I didn't just lose trust. I lost the future I thought I was building. With a man who never once built anything on honesty. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my name in black ink on a page that never should have known me. I saw a woman signing away her child, never knowing the documents had been twisted. And I saw Ava, young, composed, quietly devastated, looking at both of us like we'd stolen something sacred from her and never even noticed it was missing. So I called Maya. I didn't tell Marcus. I found her name in one of the old social records Ava had pieced together. It took 2 hours and a few online databases, but I found a current listing. A flower shop in Tulsa. She answered after the third ring. Her voice was older than I expected. Not aged by time, but by grief. Hi, I said. You don't know me. But I think you used to know my husband. Marcus Ellington. There was a pause. A long one. I haven't heard that name in years, she said flatly. I think you might want to again. I told her everything. I didn't sugarcoat it. I told her about the birth certificate, the forgery, the name that didn't belong to me, and the daughter who now lived with a name that didn't belong to her either. I expected anger. Rage. Accusations. But what I got instead was silence. When Maya finally spoke, her voice cracked. They told me she died. My heart dropped. What? They told me she was stillborn. That she didn't make it. I was young. Alone. In a state hospital that was overcrowded and underfunded. I'd gone in hoping to keep her, but I didn't have insurance. No advocate. No lawyer. When I woke up, they said she didn't survive the delivery. I sank into my chair. They lied to you. No, she said, her voice shaking now, not with weakness, but fury. He lied to me. Marcus. The next day, Maya got on a bus. She didn't fly. She didn't want fanfare. She just wanted to meet her daughter. Ava didn't cry when they saw each other. Neither did Maya. They just looked at each other like mirrors being held up after 20 years in storage, weathered, but finally real. Maya touched Ava's face like she wasn't sure it was allowed, and Ava leaned in without hesitation. It wasn't a movie reunion. It wasn't polished. But it was raw, and for once, it was honest. We sat around my dining table. The same table where Marcus had once planned anniversaries and joked about family recipes. He wasn't here now. He didn't want to be. He said he couldn't handle it. But I could. Maya told Ava everything. The hospital. The moment they took her. The weeks she spent in therapy trying to convince herself she hadn't done something wrong. And Ava listened, not with resentment, but with quiet understanding. It wasn't closure. But it was something. After they talked, Maya turned to me. "I don't know why he used your name," she said. "I don't either," I replied. "Did he ever apologize?" "Not really." She nodded like that didn't surprise her at all. I walked her out to the porch that evening. The sun was going down. The air was soft. She looked out across the yard and said, "He took her from me. And in a way, he took you from yourself, too." "Yes," I said. "But now she has you." She smiled at that. A soft, private kind of smile. The kind that only comes from pain finally turning into something else. And in that moment, I realized something. The family Marcus had tried to erase, had quietly fabricated and abandoned, was rebuilding itself right in front of him. Without him. I didn't ask Marcus to come home. Not after what happened with Maya. Not after what Ava uncovered. And certainly not after what I uncovered in myself. Because once the house was quiet again, once Maya had returned to Tulsa with Ava's number written in her own hand, and once Ava had gone to stay with a friend for a while, needing space to process it all, I finally allowed myself to feel what I'd been suppressing since the day the birth certificate landed in my hand. Grief. Not just for the betrayal. But for the version of myself that believed we were building something honest. For the woman who thought marriage was a partnership, not a performance. For the years I spent trusting someone who saw love as a curtain to draw across a stage he never intended to share. Marcus texted once. Just one message. "I know I can't undo it, but I miss us." I didn't reply. Because there was no us to miss. There had only ever been his version of things. The DNA results came in 2 weeks later. 99.98% match. No surprise there. But what mattered more wasn't the numbers, it was the choice Ava made after. She came back to the house. Not to see Marcus. To see me. We sat on the porch in the early evening, the sun melting down through the trees. She didn't say much at first. She just looked out over the yard like she was memorizing it. Then she said, "I think I'm going to move. Closer to Maya." I nodded slowly. "That makes sense. She's complicated," she admitted. "But she's honest. And I think I need to learn what it means to be around that kind of person." "You deserve that," I said. Ava glanced at me. "You do too." It caught me off guard. That she was thinking about me. But I suppose, in some strange, forged paper kind of way, our lives had fused. Not by blood. Not by intention. But by truth. And truth, I was learning, was thicker than anything else. Before she left, I handed her an envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "Something no one gave you when you were born," I said. She opened it. Inside was a letter, written by me, signed only with my first name. It wasn't legal. It wasn't official. It didn't try to explain what Marcus had done. It just told her what I saw in her now: strength, grace, clarity. And the kind of courage that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. She folded the letter carefully and hugged me, quick and tight, like she didn't want to linger, but didn't want to leave it unsaid either. Then she was gone. And for the first time in months, the house didn't feel empty. It felt clean. The next morning, I called my lawyer. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want money. I just wanted my name, my real name, untangled from anything Marcus had ever written it on. I wanted it back in my own hands. By the end of the month, I had filed for divorce, removed my name from Ava's birth record with court assistance, and donated the wedding albums to a paper shredding service. Some people write legacies in journals. Marcus wrote his in lies. But I wouldn't be another chapter. And neither would Ava. Sometimes, family isn't what you're born into. It's what you save yourself from.